everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And July 4th, 2005 marks 20 years ago that history was made on Raw when Shawn Michaels turned heel and shocked the entire world by stopping the show and delivering sweet chin music to Hulk Hogan. And for today's special edition, I am going to be discussing the success and failures of Shawn Michaels' 2005 heel run from July 2005 to August 2005. Pretty short run as a heel if you're Shawn Michaels, but in that short time that Shawn Michaels worked as a heel, he crammed in a lot in such a short time, and dare I say, he put out some of his best work ever as a heel. It is a shame that it was very short, but I'll tell you something, Shawn Michaels as a heel in 2005 was a lot of fun. Now, Shawn Michaels, when he left WWE in 1988 due to a back injury, he was a heel. He was the leader of D-Generation X, he was the world champion, and he was at the top of his game. And he was an absolute monster on the mic, and you could say he was a loose cannon. Nobody liked this guy. He was the ultimate bad boy in and out of the ring, and he was mega hated. So fast forward to 2002, and Shawn Michaels returned, and apart from his brief little stint as an NWO member where he was a heel, but the fans still cheered him, so you could say he was a tweener. Since that, Michaels has pretty much been a babyface. He's born again, he's a changed person, and he hasn't displayed any of his old destructive behavior that he used to show back in the 90s. But we all know, as long-time fans, that the old HBK was just laying dormant, waiting for the right moment to come out and just tear everybody to shreds. So, Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan, they had been teaming up together a number of times. They faced Muhammad Hassan and Davari at Backlash 2005. And to have two of the biggest stars working together as a tag team was a huge deal. You had the biggest attraction of the 80s to the early 90s in Hulk Hogan, and you had what many on the other side, you had who many consider to be the greatest wrestler of the 90s. So to have these two forces as a team was a huge deal. So on the July 4th, 2005 edition of Raw, Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan teamed up once again, this time to face Kurt Angle and Carlito. And they won the match. Everything was going well. Hogan and HBK were celebrating and posing with the fans. And then it happened. Shawn Michaels delivered sweet chin music to Hulk Hogan, thus stopping the show and bringing the entire crowd to a hush silence. I remember me and my best friend, we were big fans of HBK, especially my best friend. We were just in shock. We just couldn't believe it. Shawn Michaels has turned heel and super kicked the crap out of Hulk Hogan. And the fans didn't boo. The fans were stunned. It was complete silence. And the thing is, though, about this moment, even when I went back and watched it again, because I hadn't watched this in quite a long time, it was different because when Shawn Michaels turned on Hogan, he didn't have the big cocky grin or he was talking trash, something you would have expected to see if this was the 90s, Shawn Michaels going, yeah, like that. Shawn Michaels stood over Hogan's body and just silently walked away. And it was very chilling. I thought to myself, okay, Shawn Michaels is a heel now, but this is not going to be a heel run like he was when he was leading DX. This wasn't the cocky Shawn Michaels of 1995 or when he first turned on Marty Jannetty back in '92. I thought, okay, this is going to be a different HBK. This is going to be a much more quieter, more evil HBK, a man of few words. I was absolutely excited, but more curious as to why now. You know, Shawn Michaels came back in 2002. I said it before, yeah, he was supposed to be a heel in the NWO, but the fans still loved him, so that doesn't really count. Throughout this time, he had been back in the company for what, almost 3 years, and he never teased any signs of turning heel. And if this just came out of nowhere, and sometimes the best moments are the ones you don't see coming. They're the ones you don't expect. So me and my best friend were like, "Oh, I can't wait for Raw next week. We want to hear Shawn Michaels' explanation. Why did he do what he did?" So the following week, he appeared on Piper's Pissed with Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper pretty much shouted at him, yelled at him, "Did you do it? Why did you turn on Hulk Hogan?" And Shawn Michaels didn't say a word. I thought, okay, this is different. You know, HBK not saying much. And anyone who knows Shawn Michaels, he's never a lost for words. If he's got something to say, he's going to say it and he's going to let everybody know about it. He didn't say anything. And then he super kicked Roddy Piper and left. I thought, okay, what's going on? We're waiting for an explanation. And then in the end, we finally did get an explanation. And it was quite straightforward. He said, Hulk Hogan, you've been living off a legacy that you've created 20 years ago. Unlike you, I go out every night, reinvent myself, and try to steal the show. And he laid out the challenge: Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2005. Holy cow. WrestleMania, quality match at SummerSlam. And this is what was good about the Ruthless Aggression era. You know, we would get these big dream matches, which you normally would see at WrestleMania, but we're getting it at SummerSlam. Wow, unbelievable. So that was the explanation. Shawn Michaels laid down the challenge, pretty much saying, I've beaten everyone, but I have to know, can I beat Hulk Hogan? Can I hang with Hulkamania? Can I do the unthinkable and stop the immortal one? Pretty straightforward. Now, they tried really hard to push HBK as a heel. Me and my best friend still loved him. In fact, we loved him even more. So, the following week, Shawn Michaels parodied Hulk Hogan coming out on Larry King's show, coming out with a walker, dressed up in Hulk Hogan's attire. To me, this was like a throwback to the DX days. Now, Shawn Michaels never really parodied anybody when he was leading DX. That was more Triple H's thing, but it was still cool to see, that little throwback to the old days of DX from the Attitude Era. And he was just burying Hogan, brother, 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 all the time. And oh, my back, brother, oh, my hip, brother, all the old classic old man gags. It was just brilliant. And for that was excellent. The music was epic. And they really pushed hard, you know, to make Shawn Michaels as hated as possible. But from what I remember, throughout most of the build up, Shawn got cheered, except one occasion, which I'm going to get to in a moment. And Shawn Michaels super kicked Larry King and pretty much said, "What's she going to do, Hogan?" When reality kicks you right in the face and he super kicked the camera. Great stuff. This was a 6 month run packed into 1 month. It was unbelievable. But for me, the best thing that ever came out of this very short heel run, you know what I'm talking about. Shawn Michaels returned to the scene of the crime on Raw in Montreal, Canada. Who's your daddy, Montreal? Love it. Absolutely love it. The booze Shawn Michaels got in Canada, the heat he got. That wasn't nuclear, that was radioactive. Classic stuff. And Shawn come out in the suit and tie. And for me, it was like I was teleported back to 1997. You know, just Shawn Michaels trolling the fans, winding them up rotten. You screwed Brett chants ringing through the building. It was like 1997 all over again. And Shawn just adding fuel to the fire and pretty much said, "And I'll do it again." I hope they doubled security that night because I guarantee you the Canadian fans on that show, they were going to kill Shawn Michaels. I guarantee you they were out for Shawn Michaels' blood. And he was burying Bret Hart. And that's the cool thing. I knew this was going to be classic old HBK because to me, Shawn was doing some great stuff as a heel during this time. But I thought, there's only one way that you can convince me that Shawn Michaels was a heel and back to being the old HBK, dissing Bret Hart, and he did exactly that. And me and my best friend were like, "Yep, the old HBK's back. He's burying Bret Hart, you know, and Bret hasn't been seen on TV in like years." Music hit, and Shawn's face like, "Oh no, no, it can't be," and the place popped. And I remember me and my best friend, we were watching this, we were thinking, there is no way Bret Hart is coming out. It's just impossible. And we thought there could be a chance Bret could come out. But Shawn Michaels got us. He fooled us into thinking Bret Hart was coming out. Now, by this point, this is all the build up leading up to SummerSlam 2005. And the interesting thing about it, Hulk Hogan was nowhere to be seen. That's how stupid this build up was. Through no fault of HBK, he was there every week, putting out some great stuff, but Hogan was barely there. And then he came out finally, and Shawn Michaels put him in the sharpshooter just to piss the fans off even more. Wow, just brilliant stuff. And then we get to the segment with Jerry the King Lawler, Hogan, and Shawn Michaels, and they had that little face off. And Shawn pretty much said, "I'm going to kick your teeth right down your throat." And Hogan was like doing his same old stuff. "I'm here for each and every one of these Hulkamaniacs." You know, yeah. And Shawn was pretty much sitting there looking all bored. Yeah, same old stuff. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely loved it. And of course, Hogan got the last word because he's Hulk Hogan. I suppose you have to. And then we get to the match at SummerSlam 2005, Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan. And Shawn, you know, people said that, oh, he oversold. He made Hogan look ridiculous. Yeah, he probably did. But it was fun. It was like watching Shawn Michaels from the 90s just overselling everything. And I mean everything. It was just ridiculous. It was probably Hogan's best match, if you want to look at it that way. For Shawn, it's just another day at the office. He carried Hulk Hogan. Hogan can say what he likes. HBK made that match. It was just so funny. And But as funny as the build up was, and it was a lot of fun, the backstage drama was even more fun because originally, from what I've heard, that this was supposed to be a three match series. Shawn would win the first, Hogan win the second, and then Hogan would probably win the third or something like that. And Hogan said, "No, I think it would be better if we just do one match and I go over, you know." And Shawn wanted to do the classic good guy versus good guy, and Hogan said, "No, I think it'd be better if Shawn works as a heel. I think that would make it better." So it was just ridiculous stuff. And I didn't like the title, Icon versus Legend. Should have been Legend versus Legend, you know, because Shawn Michaels is a legend too. Yeah, I know that's his nickname. He's the icon and all that stuff, but Shawn Michaels is as much of a legend as Hulk Hogan. Is Hogan the bigger name? Probably, but HBK is no slouch. He's up there, and you know, he's my guy more than Hogan. I've said it before. I respect Hogan for what he did for the business, but not my kind of guy. But I'm an HBK guy, always have been. So Hogan won, and you know Shawn lost. I still think he should have probably won because Hogan wasn't sticking around. So you know that's what made it even more silly. You know, it would be different if Hogan stayed. Then yeah, maybe he could have won. But if he's leaving after, then Shawn Michaels should have won that match. I still stand by that. So Hogan was gone. The next night, Shawn Michaels came out and pretty much dissed Hogan and said it was an unbelievable match. You know, I underestimated the power of Hulkamania. You know, Hogan wrestled a five-star match. He was cat-like. His agility was unbelievable. It was just so stupid. And then he turned back into a babyface and feuded with Chris Masters. And just like that, Shawn Michaels' heel run was officially over, and he would never turn heel again. He would display odd heel traits when he would face The Undertaker and things like that, but other than that, that was it. But I tell you what, as short as that run was in 2005, it was epic. And I really wished it was longer. I really do. Imagine what Ruthless Aggression era could have been like with HBK working as a heel for a few months. Could have been very entertaining, could have been very interesting. The dynamic could have been a lot of fun to see, but we'll never know really. But I know Shawn was a bit reluctant to go back to that old attitude, and Vince said, "We need you to be like you were in '98. Go out there and do that." And Shawn was like, "You want me to go out there and be like I was in '98 against Hogan? I will tear Hogan to shreds on that mic." Vince just got all giddy and said, "Give us that then." But, you know, it was nice to see the old HBK back. And in terms of the success and failures of Shawn Michaels' 2005 heel run, it was a complete success, but the only failure I would give it is it was too short. I wished it could have been longer. And it's funny with these heel runs we had in the Ruthless Aggression era. You had Shawn Michaels turned heel, that lasted a month, and then you had The Rock, who did his Hollywood Rock run, which was fantastic. Lasted a bit longer. I think it lasted about 3 months. And he went back to being a babyface because the fans were never going to boo him anyway. You know, it's funny with, you know, you had these little short hill runs, but they were so good. And I think that's what makes it more special is the fact that it was so short, but it felt it could have been longer. And I feel the same way about Shawn Michaels' heel run in 2005. If only we could have snuck in another month, you know, or maybe two more. Imagine what that could have been like. Wow. But we'll never know. But what we did get was fun, and I loved it. And for that reason alone, I'm saying this was a complete success. I have to. Because there was no dull moment. And his best promo during that run was hands down in Montreal, Canada. Now imagine if Bret Hart did come out. I think the whole roof would have exploded, or certainly the whole planet would have exploded. That would have been something. But it is what it is. This was great. I've got nothing bad to say about this, except the fact that Hogan should have been there a lot more often to put him over more as a heel. But as I say, Terry's business. But this was still a great run, and I loved it. I just wished it was a little bit longer. Anyway, that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of Shawn Michaels' 2005 heel run? Did you enjoy it? Do you wish it was a bit longer? What was your favourite moments? Did you like it when Shawn turned on Hogan? Do you wish the heel run could have been a lot longer? And if so, how long do you think it should have been? 2 or 3 months? Did you like Shawn Michaels' parody of Hulk Hogan on Larry King's show? Did you like it when Shawn Michaels turned on Hulk Hogan and delivered sweet chin music? Did you enjoy Shawn Michaels' heel promo in Montreal, Canada? Did you enjoy it when Shawn Michaels teased Bret Hart's coming out? And what was your thoughts on Shawn Michaels' explanation for turning on Hulk Hogan? And what was your thoughts on Shawn Michaels' match against Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam 2005? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts down. We'll see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.